You've turned their pages, now hear their voices. We have David Trotter. Hi.
Hello, how you doing?
Good. Did I pronounce your last name right?
No, no, yes, you did. You pronounced it right. It's Trotter. I'm sorry.
I'm so done with you already.
First line in. Let's mess it up. So, yes, it's
Well, we
Trotter.
were
You're
just
good.
talking about pronunciations. You got me though.
Yeah.
That's good. Love it. So let's talk about your book. You have multiple out, but I'm gonna let you pronounce it because I've been pronouncing it wrong for weeks.
Oh, absolutely fine. So, Azure Tides is one of the books in the last son of the Pharaoh Mage saga. It takes place at the exact same time as Birthright. So, I have my first two books. They happen at the same place, so you can start either one to start the series, but you do need to read both of them before you hit Chains of a Broken God.
So you had me listen to that one. That was narrated
Correct.
by Henry Kramer,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not the first one.
It is, so you can do either first.
I was about to be so mad at you.
No, absolutely. So I typically give people that one first if they're like, hey, I want a taste of your world without like diving in super hard, because it's less POVs, so it only follows two or three people, and it's a lot more succinct and a quick read. So Azure Tides, I think, is like, what is it, like 9 hours long, eight and a half, 9 hours long,
I
maybe
think
a little bit more.
more.
Maybe a little bit more. Birthrights is 3 times the length of Azure Tides. And so I always like to let people try out Azure Tides. Also, I didn't mean to do this when it started. Azure Tides, Birthrights, Chains of a Broken God, that's ABC. It just sits real nice on a shelf to start ABC that way. So
It's longer.
Birthrights is longer. It's substantially longer.
How many pages?
That's a fantastic question. I know the word count, the pages, I'm always a little off on. It's going to be around 450 pages, and Azure Tides is around 216. So,
Was it really that short? Like, not that that's a bad thing. I thought it was longer.
I really like how it just pulls you in at the beginning. And that's the other thing about Azure Tides versus Birthrights. Azure Tides, you just jump straight in. You dive, ignore my nautical nomenclature, but you dive in both feet, just straight into the story, and you just get going. You set sail and you just ride. Birthrights is a slower burn. There's a lot more world building that kind of starts off in Birthright. So the first 3 or 4 chapters, you meet several different characters, you set up several different locations, and so it takes a little bit to get going. Whereas Azure Tides, we just go right in.
You really did just dive right in and read those trigger warnings. There was a couple parts I was honestly a little bit peeved with you.
Okay.
Like my boy. I'm gonna butcher this.
Seamus or Henry?
Yep. Thank you. No.
Yeah.
I felt so bad for him. So many different times.
Yeah, poor Seamus. He is a character of his own misfortune. He is definitely in a not so great situation. He was indentured onto the ship crew. That's not great. But then he makes decisions that don't better his plight.
He really doesn't.
And and I definitely feel for him. I will say, without any spoilers, there's more to come after Azure Tides. It is not a complete story. So I know you know that because you've finished. For anybody who's reading, it is not a standalone, and there's more to come. And I will say that I do have endings for all of my characters in mind. So it's not like it's just a total rip the heart out. There's going to be a lot of I'll tear it out and kick it down the road, but we're trying to put that thing back at the end.
Okay. I have faith. So did you name your character Henry after Henry Kramer?
So Henry Show and Seamus Pearson. So two of my best friends growing up were Dalton Pearson and Cameron Show. But Henry definitely got to be named Henry after Henry Kramer as kind of a thank you to him. Now, if you read it, it's an I at the end, not a Y, because I didn't want it to be. I wanted it to be a little on the nose, but I definitely gave Henry because he's going to be the voice of such an epic series because it is going to be about 5 books total by the end. I wanted Henry to have his lasting touch on it. So
Well, that was like a thought in the very beginning when he kept saying Henry, and I was like, "Wait, Henry is narrating this, and there's um a character named Henry," and so that's like a burning question I've had for weeks, but I didn't want to ask you. I wanted to ask you on here
oh, absolutely.
because
That
I'm torturous.
Yeah, no, I had a lot of fun with that one. Henry, he was really happy, and we talk about like meeting and talking to different people. For me, texting, like it's still weird for me to think that I'm texting like Henry Kramer. His parents are like royalty in the audiobook world, right? They narrated The Wheel of Time, James Islington stuff, a lot of Sanderson stuff, like just giants in the audio space. And Henry is, for better or worse, the voice of Tamlin, our favorite person to dislike in the Akatar series, and
Never
he's a
read it.
huge, and he's a big name in several other books as well. He's voiced a lot of really big characters, and so to be able to like work with him personally and text and call and chat about writing and where characters are going and their personalities and stuff, it's really cool. So I definitely wanted to pay that homage and as kind of a thank you to Henry, putting him in the book.
That's amazing. He's active very much on TikTok. Is that
He
how you
very
found
much
him?
is. So no, that's not actually how I found him. He actually hadn't really blown up yet. Whenever I had found him, I'm really friends with a gentleman by the name of Robert Zangari, and Robert Zangari has worked with Michael Kramer, Henry's dad, extensively on some projects, and he introduced me to Michael. And I love Michael's voice. I love his sound. I love the way he works. I wanted a slightly younger voice though. And Michael was like, "Hey, would you mind if I gave you a suggestion?" I was like, "Sure." Um, why would I not listen to the goat of narrators? He's like, my son is up and coming, and I think he might work a little bit better for your project. And that's how it kind of worked. And again, being able to chat with Michael Kramer, and then, now with his son, it's a wild world that I'm living in. I feel like I'm in a fantasy world of my own sometimes.
Isn't that weird how that works sometimes?
Very much so. It's
You
crazy.
just meet people you never thought you would.
I've been really privileged. Going. I published my first book at the very end of 21. That's when Birthrights came out, and to see where I'm at now, it's a wild ride to go from there to here. And it kind of really didn't even start happening till about 23, and that's really when everything started moving faster.
And it's all because you took those big steps.
Yeah, it was fun, and it was scary, it was daunting, but here we are. Here we
Because
are.
you don't have it just on a pirate ship. Would you call it a pirate ship? There's like other aspects.
Yeah, so the whole thing about Azure Tides is right, and is they're on a voyage to maybe partake in some less than above the table uh, artifacts. We have a pretty cool scene that I really love. Anytime I get to throw out my masked friends, and you'll see more of them in Birthrights and Chains, especially. Anytime I can throw them in there, I'm really excited. They're trying to find a gemstone, and that leads them to a less than lackluster location, which puts them in the path of a pirate ship. And I really enjoyed Ray Lilon writing her. I think she is a super cool pirate captain. I definitely leaned in heavy to the pirate tropes and the vampire tropes with her, and that was intentional. I was having fun. I think, so many times as authors, we are like really told to like, hey, be careful. Write things a very certain way. Make sure that you're always evolving, and I think we do. We need to make sure we're evolving. We need to make sure we're staying um, aware of situations, but also it's like, I'm writing a pirate that's a vampire. So we're already kind of out there, because vampires, they're not supposed to be able to cross open water anyways. And so I get around that with the ship, but, it was just a lot of fun to just write this extremely powerful vampiress that is no holds bar. She is evil through and through. I don't want a redemption story for her.
Mm.
She's a bad person.
Yeah, I was kind of angry with her a lot.
Well, good. I'd be worried if you weren't. So
Yeah. And oh my gosh, I had so many questions like in my head that I was like, you're not going to forget those. And then you're here and I told you. um they're just all out the window now.
it's all right.
It's really cool. No.
So I get no, it's all good. I guess for me, when you were reading, right? Because I wrote it, so I see through my own eyes. I guess what kind of stood out to you as like this is frustrating because you said you got a little bit frustrated a couple times. What kind of stood out as frustrating and why? Because I'm curious because this is my work and I'm not to flip the interview around on you, but like what were some of those
No, go
things where
for
you're
it.
like, ooh, that kind of
With
got at me?
without without giving out spoilers,
Mm-hmm.
the pain that they go through, because as a mom I want to protect everybody, and when the characters are hurting I want to protect them. And of course, like, Henry brings emotion to your book. It's not just you reading it on a page. You get to hear um, the emotion behind it. And there was a couple times like, ooh, they're not real. Like, they're fictional. You shouldn't be having this reaction to like want to jump in the book and protect them. And that was just that whole gut punch aspect to it.
Yeah, so a little bit about my journey as a human and as an author. When my wife and we were expecting triplets and we lost them, and that was kind of what thrust me into the writing world. Is I needed an outlet, I needed a place to grieve. And I don't want to say I turned my characters into a punching bag, because this is something that's important to me. Is um, people go through pain, people hurt, people feel, and we all handle things very differently. And I love Henry and Seamus so much, like, because at any point in time it would have been totally acceptable for Henry to say that's enough, you know and yet there's a love that kind of goes deeper than the surface. It's a love bound through trauma, through history, through true friendship, through the silly little pranks, but also through the life of living the way that they live. And just I love, and I'm sure the scene where they're climbing the mountain, right? And that was both very, I tried to anyways make it very narratively real, but also symbolically real, like climbing the mountain together. I thought that was such a cool moment where they have this realization, and Seamus has that realization. And I thought that was that felt, for me, that there was a lot of cathartic release as they're climbing that mountain. And again, like I said, it's hard to say anything without spoiling, but that was probably one of my favorite scenes to write.
I
um
want to say I'm so sorry for your loss. Um, I can't even imagine what you guys went through or continue to go through, because it's loss is just not, you don't get over it just quickly. But you're absolutely right. You turn pain into different avenues of grieving, and there's no right or wrong way. And if you turned that pain into something, I wouldn't say I'm this is going to sound bad either way,
Yeah.
beautiful,
Hmm.
um and being able to just express all of those emotions in a book, congratulations. That's not even the right. This is it's fine.
No, it's one of those things that like I normally say it, I open it up because I think it's important for people to know, right? Like to know and to be aware, and especially as a man, there's this kind of tendency for men to try to be overly stoic and overly, oh, everything's fine, and sometimes things just aren't fine. Sometimes things really are hard and they're bad and they're messy, and authors are people too. We have our own worlds that we live in, but from that you can learn, you can grow, and I don't want to say it necessarily makes you better, but it makes you who you are, and there is beauty in pain. There is something that comes from the darkness, um, that is very beautiful. That's why for my whole series, the overarching thing, that like the tagline for my entire the Fair Mage saga is "The light must return," and everybody is facing their own version of darkness. When you get into book one, like Birthrights, you will see very literal darkness that is being fought. um, for Seamus, as you know, he has a very different internal struggle, that now he's going to have to deal with, and that he's going to have to comprehend and go through. Um, and Unapua, I love her. She is so awesome. She would probably be my favorite character if it wasn't for Aaliyah in the book. And when I can't wait for you to get to read and know Aaliyah, because she rapidly becomes a lot of people's favorite character. Actually, the whole series is mostly about Darius, and yet it's so funny because most people are like, "Oh, Aaliyah's my favorite." Like everybody else can just kind of kick rocks. I mean, they're great, and I've got to like, I love this little piece here, but like these are my people, right? And so here's Seamus, and here's Unapua, and this is Aaliyah, and she quickly becomes, I think, so many people's favorites because she's just such a her pain is so real and it's so visceral, but like her arise moment is just all the more beautiful for it.
I just feel like you're going to put in some more gut punches.
Oh yeah,
Hmm.
don't you worry about that.
Oh no,
There.
please. I no doubts. I am considering how you threw quite a few in there.
Mhm.
I would expect nothing less of you.
I will say in Chains, in the third book, there are dogs, and all dogs make it out alive. I want to be very there. I
Thank
have a
you.
hard and fast rule when it comes to dogs. They make it out alive. At the end of the day, the dogs, and I will stand on this, the dogs make it out alive.
Thank you for that because I have an author and there is a dog
Hmm.
in her series, and I'm like, if anything happens to this dog, you're done. Like, I'm never touching another book of yours ever again. Like, that dog is staying. Um Screw people. But I'm glad you guys leave the dogs in there. I think
Yeah.
for animal lovers to be reading those and be able to gravitate towards something, because a lot of readers, most readers, half the readers, are animal lovers and introverts. So
Yeah. Well, and dogs represent, I think, the best that humanity has to offer: loyalty, steadiness, joy, expression. And I love dogs. And so, my dog's name is Trip. Named him Trip, after Triplet. And so I went ahead, and the two dogs in Chains, their name are Nip and Trip. So I got he is immortalized as well in my books. So
that is amazing. I love it. Creative names too.
yeah, they're fun.
Yeah, and there's a if it wasn't for Henry, some
Hmm.
of your characters' names would be botched so bad.
So
Mhm.
there are some strange names in the world. I try to give people short names to make it really easy, like Captain Natura. Much easier to say Captain Natura than her full name. Um, she's got a long one, so
I want to hear it.
no, I think I'm good. I think I would butcher it right now at the top of the cup. I'd have to pull it open, to be honest. I'd have to pull it open to look just to make sure I said it right. I do Charlie, right? Like his was easy, right? Like we got Charlie. There's some tougher ones in there for sure. Uh, the Doragata, I think a lot of people get that one messed up. I try really hard not to make that one too difficult. It seemed like it made sense in my mind, but I think a lot of people mess up the Doragata quite a bit. It's funny when it comes to like names and stuff like that. Uh, when I read, I don't actually I don't hear names when I read. I see the letters, and those letters are what they are in my head. So like when I'm reading character names, I because I read in my head or I listen. I don't read out loud hardly ever. It's I don't think about it. It's like though that order of letters is their name. And that's like all it is to me. It's like I just see that order of letters and I'm just like that's their names. I'm my own special version of neurospicy, and so I try my best to just keep riding with it.
100%. And that's the best thing about finding narrators or authors or anybody in the book community is we're mostly neurodivergent
Hmm.
on some level,
Oh, for sure, for
and
sure.
it's
But
fun.
it's not only is fun, I think it's super needed. And I will say that the acceptance and the growth in that community over the past, I don't know, 10, 12 years has been really awesome. Growing up in the 90s as somebody who was undiagnosed at the time ADHD and undiagnosed dyslexic at the time, it was definitely a challenge because you're like, hey, well, you need to act a certain way. And like I said, I was a boy growing up in the 90s in the South. Sports balls was what it was all about. When you met people, they always asked, what position you play in football? That was the first question I always get asked. You know, and then the next question is like, did you serve in the military? Those are like the two questions I normally get asked like
Hmm.
pretty frequently. And I will say I did a whole one season in football. I wore a little red hat and I got knocked around because I weighed about 120 pounds. I got ragdolled all the time, and and I never did any time in the military. But I kind of got out into the world and went to college. Took some time off of college, went back to college, um, and then got a job in IT. Um, and I was doing that for a long time, and then I kind of refell in love with reading during COVID, and the rest is history.
It was definitely different in the 90s.
It was a different vibe.
We're at in the South.
I am from Arkansas, so
Shut the door.
yep. You also from Arkansas?
Mm-hmm.
Where are you at? I'm in Conway.
Close.
Close,
Mm-hmm.
close. And are you going to Rebels and Realms in July?
No, I'm not.
Oh,
I am actually in Idaho now,
oh,
but
you're in
I'm
Idaho now.
from the
Okay.
South. Hmm.
Oh, wait, cool.
Yep. So Newark.
Newark. Okay. Nice.
Hmm.
That's crazy. No, I was born and raised in Ozark. Lived in Fort Smith for a little bit, and then came out here for a job right outside of Little Rock. So,
But you don't have an accent either, and that's crazy because when you live in Arkansas for so long, right?
hmm.
You get an accent, and then you move, and then it just And then unless you get around somebody else with a southern accent, and that
So
comes back up.
that's exactly true. So when I spend any time visiting my family, I definitely it'll bleed back in. But again, I've been doing IT for 10 years now. And so, I spend most of my day talking to people who aren't from the South. So it's there's a lot of stigmas, and so I've trained myself how to speak more properly through conversation, because you get on the phone with somebody and you're like, hey, how you doing, and they're like, okay, you don't know what you're talking about. So they're not going to be like, okay, let's talk 3-part and hyperconverged, and let's start talk about LUNs in the back end of a data center. And they're like, no, you sound like you eat squirrel grits for breakfast. It's like, well, maybe I do. Let's not be too judgmental here. But I got a degree, I know what I'm doing. I'm
That is
somewhat educated.
that is one big huge misconception about the South, is that they're just a whole bunch of hillbillies. And you're absolutely right. Like, my husband knows anytime I talk to my family,
Mm-hmm.
because southern accent comes out. But when I'm really mad, I don't have to be around anybody in the
Mm-hmm.
South. It just
Yep.
comes flying out.
Well, the hard eyes will get you, like repent or tent or something like that. You go to the dog pen, it'll hit you. You'll drop the drop vowels will get you every time. That's how they find you out. They'll get you.
And there's sometimes just no hiding it.
Um, my youngest son, he has a pretty heavy Southern accent, so it's funny, which is crazy because he starts kindergarten this year, so he hasn't started school yet. But like he has a pretty strong Southern accent now, so
Are
it's
you still
fun.
down in the South, or did you
Mm-hmm.
relocate?
I lived on the East Coast for 2 years, but other than that, I've been in the South.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
It's a wild
That's
ride.
awesome. I don't miss the tornadoes though.
We just spent last week. We were just all in the bathtub. We had all the kids in the bathtub with the bike helmets on just 2 weeks ago.
I know. I was calling family like, "Are you okay?
Mm-hmm.
We're bunkered down." I'm like, "Okay, call me back though, because I
Yep.
need to know." Yeah,
Yeah.
don't miss it.
But it's it makes you who you are, and it bleeds into what you do. I it is funny because in the South, hospitality is a real thing, and you'll get this more than anybody. In the South, we pretend like we like you and we don't, but in the North, they pretend like they don't like you and they do. And so like it bleeds into my books a lot. There's a lot of like perceived niceties. There's a lot of like social, like, but then a lot of like kind of like, oh honey, bless your heart.
That's what I was going to say. People down here, they're like, "Bless your heart" is like they feel bad for you. I'm like, "No, bless your
No,
heart
means you're
is
dumb as a
not."
sack of rocks.
Bless your heart is not a term of endearment. Bless your heart is a, oh honey, you were fucking stupid.
Yeah, one of my favorites, my mama, whenever people would come over, anytime they'd leave, she'd always say, y'all come back when you won't stay so long. And that just is like, that's, I think, is, you're welcome back at any time, just don't stay as long as you did last time.
Y'all is what gets me every time, because I try so hard not to put it in any of my posts because grammar.
Yeah. I lean into
But
y'all.
it's hard.
I lean into y'all even when I'm on the like even when I'm talking to people like C-levels on IT calls and stuff like that. Like I will still say y'all. I'll use it in emails, and people are like, that's a little unprofessional. It's like, but it's who I am. So you got to know who you're going to meet outside. If we want to get upset, you got to know who you're going to meet outside.
I'm surprised you didn't put chocolate gravy in your book in the recipes.
You know, fun fact, so my wife is originally from California, and her family moved here when she was younger, but like she didn't realize that was actually a thing. She thought it was a joke, because even though they moved here, like, she'd never had it. And then I was like, no, that's like it's legit.
No, it literally is. And people like my husband, I was like, I'm going to make you guys chocolate gravy with homemade biscuits. And my husband's like, why are you putting chocolate in gravy? I was like, no, it's not. You put chocolate in like white gravy. You literally make it from
make
scratch.
chocolate gravy.
And we were actually on TikTok one night, And they're like, what is a recipe you don't think that we've tried? It's like chocolate
Chocolate.
gravy. And they're like, that's not a thing. Like,
It is
why are you
outside.
making that up? And I was like, no, literally chocolate gravy's amazing. My Mimi used to make
Yeah.
chocolate gravy and homemade biscuits, and so great.
I always love it. Like, so do you start your roux with just like the butter flour, and then do you do the cocoa powder? Is that what you do, or do you do like the
Mm-hmm.
chocolate? So like a lot of people are lazy now, and they'll do like chocolate syrup in it. They'll get like a bottle of like Hershey syrup, and I was like, oh, that's not. No, 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 no. Okay,
That's disgusting. No, it is cocoa powder.
okay,
You
good.
put cocoa. Who does no. No,
It's transplants. It's not real Southern people, but they sure are trying. Bless their heart. You know.
I can't, cuz from the south, like,
Mhm.
Your Mimi or your aunts and your uncles, and it's from scratch, like
Mhm.
especially breakfast morning before church,
Mhm.
from scratch. Biscuits from scratch, desserts from scratch. Everything is from scratch, and I use that now. And chicken and dumplings, oh, I miss
Mhm.
them so much.
I love
I
chicken
don't
and
know how we got on
dumplings.
food. I'm hungry.
Yeah, I was about to say we're going down a dangerous rabbit hole now.
I know. And I need some more cocoa powder to do chocolate gravy.
Sounds like this is my kid's spring break, so I may do that. I may do that tomorrow morning. It may be worth doing.
And homemade biscuits. It's always better with homemade biscuits, not the canned crap.
Yeah.
Homemade.
Yeah. So my wife and I, so she likes to bake. I try to bake. I like to cook. So I do most of the cooking at the house, but she is a much better baker than me. I made bread. I was trying to just make bread the other day, and you could launch that sucker out of a cannon and just knock a hole in the side of a building. It was dense. So
Yep, I heard it. I
yeah,
heard the
it'll pop out every
sirens.
once in a while. See, it'll pop out. See, I try hard not to, but it'll. I told you,
It makes me feel like
it's the
home.
drop vowels, the dense. It's pronounced dense, not dense. But see, you
No,
just start
it's
talking and it'll pop out.
mm-hmm. No, my mom still pronounces ice as ice. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, Mom, you sound like you're saying ass. Like,
Yeah.
you gotta pronounce it a little bit different, because waitresses and waiters, unless you're not from the south, sounds kind of wrong.
Listen, you want what in your cup?
Some ass.
Oh man,
Oh
it's
my
good
gosh.
times.
No, this makes me feel like home. I was like, this is great.
Knock the
I
nerves
love
off. Knock the
baking.
nerves off.
Yeah, exactly. But talk about food and dogs, and I mean, nerves who.
Nerves too.
Yep. And it's kind of weird because through my headphones, like,
Mm-hmm.
when you hear somebody with a southern accent and you're from the south,
Mm-hmm.
your uncles and your
Mm-hmm.
cousins, they all start sounding the same
Mm-hmm.
because it's all the accent.
It's all the same. It's all the same.
It is all the same. So what got you and what keeps you motivated into writing more and more books? Like, are you just stuck in that realm and you need to, are they talking loud?
Yeah. So before we started, we talked a little bit about lit RPG, and I need to say this because it's important. So I'm writing two different genres, two different stories right now. The Last Son of the Pharaoh Mage Saga, epic fantasy, traditional fantasy, great. Legend of Neverwhere is lit RPG, which just it's like a video game in a book, right? So there's stats, there's leveling up, there's you actually like get new items. So like you don't just like find a sword, you get a sword and it becomes like part of your stat rollouts. It's a lot of fun. Big nerd time.
Like D&D?
Yes, a lot like D&D. Um, Typically most of them they start with some kind of Deus Ex Machina, like a death scene or like a transition scene or a portal scene where you're living in the real world, something changes, and then you're like existing in a game-like mechanic. Different people handle it differently. Sometimes it's an alien invasion. Sometimes it's you die, and then you, instead of going to the other side, you broke the matrix. There's 1,000 different ways that you get there. Mine follows two teenagers that fall through a portal into a world called Neverwhere, and it's an homage to the Legend of Zelda games I grew up loving. Very heavily, as you can see, it's very heavily Zelda inspired. And so I'm writing that series, and I'm almost done with it. I have got book 4 of the Last Son of the Pharaoh Mage saga totally outlined. So once I finish the Legend of Neverwhere series, I'm going to be back into the Pharaoh Mage saga to finish up the last 2 books in that series. And then I have several projects. Like, my notes section of my phone is filled up with like ideas. A lot of people will actually come up to me and they're like, "Oh, you're an author. Let me give you my idea, and you can just write it and then give me, partial credit." I was like, "I have ideas. Ideas are a dime a dozen. I mean, I have so many ideas. I will never be able to write all of the ideas I have. That's not the hard part about writing. It's actually the practice, the discipline to sit down and write it, proof it, edit it, do it again, and see it through to completion. So that's currently what I am doing. What motivates me? The sheer love of the game. And it is a game now. What started me? Um, Loss started that journey. But I think, I don't really think it matters what starts you on your journey. It's what keeps you going, because your motivators can change. I'm in a much different place than when I lost my triplets. I'm in a much better place now. It's still hard. I still grieve. It's maybe funny is not the right word, but every year around the time that we lost the triplets, even without thinking about it, my wife and I are just kind of in a funk. And one of us will be like, "Oh, this is why we're feeling this way." So we try to do stuff to help motivate the other person and kind of get us going. But like, I love it so much. 2 years ago, I went to my first con ever. It's called FanX. It's Utah's big fantasy convention out in Salt Lake City. I mentioned Robert Zangari. He's the one who introduced me to Michael Kramer, who introduced me to Henry Kramer. Robert found me. I don't even know how he found me, but he picked up my book on Kickstarter, and I had like 22 backers, and he was one of them. And he was like, "Hey, this is really cool." And we just started talking, and he introduced me to a group called Indie Fantasy Addicts on Facebook. Um, I met some really cool people. One of those people's name is Rachel Renner. She's a pretty prolific fantasy author that has really blown up over the past couple years. Another was Liz Delton and Janice J.A. Andrews. And I don't know if you've heard of the book Mages of the Wheel by J.D. Evans, but it's a very popular, like, indie published book. If you don't know, you got to check her out. She's awesome. But I met all these people, and they were just so nice, and they were so welcoming, and I felt like this little bitty kid. And I was just staring up at all the big adults. Like, I was like, I had my one book, and I was like, "Oh, this is so cool," and then they invited me to come out to FanX. I went to FanX. I loved it. I had a great time. I sold like 30 or 40 books, which was crazy for me because I had sold up to like 7 books up to that point in time in my life. And so I sold relatively well, paid for my booth, paid for the trip, you know, and and then Azure Tides had just come out, and that Kickstarter did relatively well, and then all of a sudden doors just started opening up, doors that you wouldn't even think existed. Um, in 25, I did a lot of local shows, like little like pop-up tents and stuff like that. But because I was doing all of my social media stuff, doing it, my social media grew. I went from like 18 followers on TikTok. And again, I'm not famous or anything, to like a couple thousand. My Instagram started getting lots of likes and views. I started trying to use threads, trying to figure out what social media was. And all of a sudden, my monthly book sales went from like 1 or 2 to 10 to 15 to 20 to 30. People started reading my books. I started getting reviews. I started getting orders. And then I went to a couple more cons, and then this year I think, I mean, this year's just started, but I think it's going to be tough that I just Dragon Con in Atlanta, I got asked to be an attending professional, and so it's my first con to go to that I'm not paying to go, which is crazy. Now I'm not getting paid to be there, but I'm not paying to go, and I'm going to go be on panels and get to talk about being an author, and I'm like, that is the dream, right? That's the love of the game. That's who does that? Like, I'm just some kid from Arkansas. What happened, you know? And yeah, it's been great.
That's phenomenal. Congratulations.
I appreciate it. It's been a journey, and I hope that in 2 years, all these things that are mountains to me today are like, oh, that's cool. How I thought that was big.
You know, I made a video today, and it was talking about doing the hard things because
I saw that
I'm
one.
sure, like, you know, being an indie author is scary, or reaching out to people. It's just all scary, right? And if you don't do it and you don't put in your work and you don't throw yourself out there, you'll never know.
You know, and being now openly dyslexic and ADHD and having all those things, I know my books aren't perfect, right? Like, I know that. I don't have the money to, hire an entire team. Now I do have an editor that I work with that helps out a lot, but things fall through the cracks, right? And one of the things I love most about being an indie author is when people reach out to me who've read my books and like, hey, I noticed a couple things. Thank you. Thank you. Because now I can go change that. It's easy for me to change. I don't have to go through a publishing house. I can just go in and make some edits, re-upload the files, and it's better. And so, like, every edition is a little bit better than the last one. And I'm working and I'm growing, but I would say if you are a reader and you're afraid if you love an author's book, but you found something that's maybe not perfect, but you're afraid to say something, privately message them. I can't imagine. I'm sure there's one author out there that'd be a jerk, but like, so many of us are scared or nervous or new or young and we just wanted this thing to be the best, because I love my books. I love them more than anything. They're my stories. And if you can help me make it better, great. you know
I do have to make it clear, though, that there's a huge difference between letting an author know that there's a grammar mistake or there's something
mm-hmm.
amiss than a bad review or DMing an author that you hate their book. Okay, grab something different.
I was talking about this with, I don't know if you know who Aaron Hall is, if you've seen him kind of pop up or not, but I was talking with him, and we were talking about bad reviews. So it's like, it's a badge of honor to get that first really bad review. And I think it's funny. I had somebody who gave me a super bad review on Amazon and then messaged me and it's like, hey, for $50, I'll change it to a good one. And I just
Blackmail?
I just used it as marketing, and then they took it down, and I was like, oh, dang it, you took down like my favorite marketing piece. It was funny. It was great. I missed that. Yeah, they tried to, people are crazy.
People are that the balls.
Listen, or the lack. But again, here's the thing though. I'll say this to a lot of people. I am a non-traditional author. I was a professional first. I have a mind for business. I don't mind confrontation. I know that's hard for a lot of people. I actually kind of enjoy it a little bit. 10 years in IT sales, 4 years in logistics sales. I don't mind a little bit of confrontation, and I'm very business minded. So when people try to like be mean, I tend to step in. Actually, I am in the IFA. I talked about it a little bit, the fantasy group that I'm in on Facebook, that I got my toes sucked in. I just recently, this last year, at the end of last year, I became one of our admins for that group, and my title is the band hammer. So my job is to break up fights and remove confrontational things and handle those kind of situations. So when things get extra spicy, I get to step in
That's hilarious.
and I got a couple swords on the wall. I can pick my choice of which one I want to use. You can see Gimli's axe and old Linky Link's sword. Go to
Sometimes,
war.
regardless of who you are, even if you run a business or you're an indie author or you're a narrator, whatever, right? Doesn't matter your job. It is a business, but sometimes you're just like, I wish you would today. I really wish you would because
Yeah.
I don't care. And there's a and like we had talked about previously, being in the South, you're nice. Like
Hmm.
regardless, yes ma'am, no ma'am, please, thank you. Like those are drilled into you. So it's sometimes it's just you just got to put people in their place.
Oh, I'll hit him with a hard S, sir.
Mm.
Well, in the South Side, sir, if you'd like. And they'll be like, oh, well. Yeah, it's a good time. It's a good time. But uh, but for the most part, I think the thing I love most about the bookish community, it's such a great community. And
Mm-hmm.
there's always going to be the little dramas, but it's drama, right? Like whether it's
You stay out
something
of it.
something we don't agree with, something we do agree with, something that's like top of the line. Maybe it's drama sells, right? Drama sells. It gets popularity. It gets views. But for the most part, everybody I've talked with, met with, everybody's just so freaking nice. Everybody's just so kind. They're so, and that's why I don't mind being that person to stand up because, and I'll open this up to anybody in your in your groups, your followers. If they ever need somebody to step in and be the asshole, just holler at me. I'm more than happy to more than happy to step in and take care of business. So,
But you probably were taught the same way in the South. You
mhm.
don't pick the fight, but you finish it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
100%. And
That's
all gloves are off. And
oh,
and people think that just because um they have this notion that since we were raised by the South that we got to take it, you know.
mhm,
But there's that other side.
mhm.
Southerners have a pretty good temper, whether you're a woman or a man, or whatever your gender. Um, you know. Mm-hmm.
The rope is long, but it has an end.
Yep. If you push somebody too far,
Yeah.
I have my uncle is like one of the most laid back people, and there's been a couple times that yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like okay, I'm gonna go because in the South it's the man
Mhm.
runs the house. You know what I mean? Like,
I would say majority rules. I would say I'm very happy in our home. My wife is, and again, California, born and raised. So we try our very best to be a shared responsibility home.
I love
Um,
that.
and again, like I said, I like to cook. It's like one of my favorite things to do. It's very cathartic for me. Um, we have I know we're in the South here. We have a dishwasher that works just fine, but I do a lot of like hand washing dishes. It used to be a chore for me when I was growing up. It's what we got in punishment. We'd have to wash the dishes. But now for me, it's kind of like I'll put on my audiobook and I'll just wash dishes sometimes, and it's just kind of very cathartic.
Yeah, it is. I have actually been listening to your book while I cook
Oh,
or while I drive. I'm
well, I'm
like,
sorry. There's some scenes that are definitely. Hopefully, you're not eating during some of the scenes. There's a couple of scenes that are a little bit tough. Though I will say, with Unapua, it's not as bad as it sounds, and that was intentional. You thought it was worse, and I know everybody does. But what happened to her was not as bad as what you thought it was when she's
mm,
under the ship. Maybe almost as
mm-hmm.
bad. Maybe almost as bad. But
Don't know. I guess our listeners will have to read it or
yeah,
listen to it because Henry Kramer narrates the whole thing.
yeah. And Birthrights as well. And there's a trilogy of short stories that I just published that are also coming out. It's three different flavors. It's a villain's origin story, the Pharaoh Mage's origin story, and a short dark academia romance story. They're all probably about an hour long. Excuse me, I lost my voice there. Going through puberty is rough. Um, they're each about an hour or so long, and it's all going to be in one book. So it's Henry doing two of the stories, and then his new wife is doing the third. So I'm continuing the legacy of Michael Kramer and Kate Redding with Henry Kramer and Jenna DeLong. So,
You cut out super bad
uh
right
oh,
as you got done. talking about Henry Kramer. What can you repeat that?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Cool. So the three books. So two of them are read by Henry, and one of them is read by Jenna DeLong, which is his new wife. And so I was saying it's continuing the legacy of his dad and mom, Michael Kramer and Kate Reading, of having a couple narrate a story, and they will both be returning to do Chains, where he will be doing most of the male POVs and she will start doing most of the female POVs. There's just
That's
a lot
phenomenal.
there's a lot more female POV in Chains of a Broken God. One of the major characters, two of the major characters I introduced in that book are both female, and I want to give them their own place and voice to shine, because there's a lot of really cool stuff happening there.
That's amazing. Do you plan to stick with the fantasy genre, or do you feel like you're going to be branching out at some point?
I I am branching out in the fantasy genre. Will I branch out outside of the fantasy genre? Maybe. I don't want to say no. I don't ever want to close a door. I'm not exceptionally well read outside of the fantasy genre. I have read some. I need to read more. I'm very open to recommendations. I try to every time I read 3 or 4 books that I really want to read, I always try to branch out. I look at my books. I'm like, okay, am I branching out enough? Am I reading, you know, authors of different nationalities than me, different, gender than me, different viewpoints than me? Because I think it's important to be looking outside. And I also
Inclusive.
try to read outside of my own genre as well. I hadn't read any romantasy until about 2 or 3 years ago, and I am a diehard romantasy fan now. I love that genre. It is amazing.
But are we talking about cute rom-coms? Are we talking about dark romance? Give
All
me
of
all
the
the
above.
scoop.
Okay, so I actually have not read a lot of cute rom coms. The closest I would say to cute rom coms is Amethyst and Alchemy, by Rachel Renner. Fantastic book. Has a pet pig in it. Gotta try it out.
Oh my
God, I love it. Actually, I think she has like a special edition that's just coming out. Love that. Um, Traditional romantasy. I've read all the Akatar, all the Fourth Wings. I talked about Mages of the Wheel a little bit. That was fun. Urban romantasy in the fantasy genre with Portal kind of mixed in there would be Inked, the Gilded Blood series. It's about a tattoo artist. Her boyfriend is Succubus, and a tattoo, and the tattoos have like magical powers and stuff. It's really fun. It's got a butt cobra in it, so that one's got to look that one up. It's a ton of fun. Boy, I could go off on a couple more, but yeah, there's some good ones out there.
Did you say a butt cobra?
A butt cobra, absolutely.
Oh,
Tattoo. Yeah.
who's the author?
Rachel Renner. It's called the Gilded Blood series. Um, it's fantastic. Probably one of my favorite. So my 2 favorite books by her are the Gilded Blood series and then that one. So you find it?
Mm,
10 out of 10. Must read. She's currently rewriting the entire series through the main male's POV.
I love that so much. And it's creative and different. I love it.
Yeah. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Everybody's like, "Oh, the book girlies must read." Let me tell you, if you're a straight man and you're not reading romantasy, you got to give it a try, because everybody will appreciate you for it.
Hmm. Nope. We have older boys, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of them, 24, out of the
Mm-hmm.
house, moved out. I've been trying to get him into reading dark romance. He's like, "Mom, men don't read dark romance." I was like, that is so not true.
Yeah, that's what I say. I would say definitely not. Ooh, a Fate inked in blood and bone. Those ones, I
Mm-hmm.
really love those. Found those just like I was like, oh, I love like the Celtic, Nordic, all of those different vibes. Big tattoo fan, and so like I saw those and I picked it up. I got it from my wife Heather, and she devoured it instantly. I read it, and then I read the Bridge Kingdom as well, also by her. That was a lot less romance and a lot more just fantasy. I know it gets more romance later on in the series as it goes on, but those are really fun. Yeah, it's just there's so much out there to read. So again, I definitely I want to continue branching out and reading, but it's also like every genre exists in the fantasy genre. Like one of my good friends, she writes LGBTQ cowboy fantasy. Um,
Yes.
so it's just like
Hmm.
you can go read a rom com fantasy cowboy things that also has magic and dragons, but they're cowboys, and it's just like
We all need that.
it's so much fun, like. But then at the same time, you can turn around like Robert Zangari. He writes traditional epics. I'm talking like I wish I have his books in the other room. I mean, his books are like this big. They make mine look tiny. Like, I mean, it's like 58 hours on Audible for one book.
What?
Yeah, it's incredible. You know what I mean? So it's just like it's incredible. And then like MH Woodscourt, she's also Melissa Woodscourt. She's probably one of my favorite authors that I found over the past year or two, and she writes just this like really like return to like Lord of the Rings feeling fantasy. It's just so like it gives you all the vibes. Um,
S- So, a good fantasy
mhm.
series, if you haven't already, is the Crave series by Tracy Wolff.
I have not started it yet. My wife loves it, so I got to check it out. She's read all. She has all of them on her shelf.
I need to be friends with your wife.
You absolutely should. So you
Mhm.
absolutely should. And if you look up that book talk couple, and you can find them through me. That's my wife and I's channel that she runs and she kicks me out of. She says, actually, you're not. You're here just for saying hi. This is my channel. It's her channel.
You're totally going to have to DM me
Oh, for sure.
and send me that so I can follow you guys on there too.
Yeah, for sure. It's a lot of Bad Omens, Young Blood, and the President. We just like I said, we went just saw a concert, so lots of music video stuff. She's feeling the vibes right now, but absolutely, I'll for sure send them up.
As you should. Is there anything else that you would like to tell your readers, your listeners, potential readers?
Um, right now, I am in the pre-launch phase for the third book of the Legend of Neverwhere series, and I am traveling. So if you're in Arkansas, I'll be at Rebels and Realms in July. If you're in Huntsville, Alabama area, I'll be there in April. Actually, here in just a couple weeks, I'll be at the Fantasy Con there. And then if you are out west in Utah or close by, I will be at FanX again. And for my Atlanta people, I will be in at Dragon Con. So if you like to listen to nerds talk nerds stuff, come see me. I love meeting people. It's a great experience to get to see that. But yeah, no, that's all. And just keep reading and love what you read. Read what you love. It's so much fun.
It definitely is. Well, thank you, David. I really appreciate you coming on and talking about your books and your series and your characters and, Henry Kramer. It's seriously been so much fun.
Absolutely. And thank you for talking Southern stuff. I rarely get to talk to people from the South, so it's been great.
Southern all day long. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye.